Welcome to Talking Politics. I am Paul Gable. I'm here with my good friend and co-host John Bond Sr. And today we're hosting a veteran political operative in this area, Tom Herron. He's going to talk to us about upwithamerica.org. And before we come back live, we're going to have a short 2-minute video for you to give you some background on the organization. We'll be back.
This is the story of America, and the idea that all men are created equal. The idea that our rights come from our Creator, not from any man or any government. The right to life, the right to liberty, the right to the pursuit of happiness. And that with these rights, and in this place, God has given hope a name: America.
I can almost hear them say, America.
From landing in Jamestown in 1607 to landing men on the moon in 1969. From discovering the New World to feeding and healing and protecting the whole world. America has been a rare and welcome beacon of light. A light that is beginning to fade. It's time to inform, time to inspire, time to celebrate all that's good about America. That's what Up With America is all about.
Well, welcome back. We're here in our studio at 605C North Kings Highway. We have Tom Herron with us. We just saw the video, Tom. Is there anything you want to add to that?
There sure is. There's a lot I could add, and we don't have much time.
Gotcha.
But I think it's important to understand why would I create something like this, which is now almost 10 years ago. And so let's just get to the bottom line here. My father, like probably many of you, was a World War II hero. He flew the hump, 67 missions across the Himalayas.
Wow.
I admire those guys to this day. Every chance I get around veterans at the Veterans Cafe or somewhere, and I just admire all the stuff that they've done, no matter what war it is. And my father passed away in 1999. And I began to be very concerned, even before then, about the direction that America was going. We had these amazing people in World War II, and amazing people in Korea and Vietnam and all the way through, and now where are we? And I started examining this, and I said, we need to do something to save the country before it goes down the tube. So that was sort of where it started. So I wrote a letter to my father, which is on our website, upwithamerica.org. I wrote it to him posthumously. And basically what I said was, I owe you an apology, Dad. You guys saved the world. You handed America to us on a silver platter. Are you kidding me? Our generation, the baby boomers, had all this stuff handed to us on a silver platter. Right, John? I mean,
absolutely.
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely.
Nobody in the history of the earth has ever had that before. Even kings and queens and Caesars didn't have the lifestyle of middle America in the 1950s and 60s. And we're destroying it.
We blew it.
We're absolutely correct. I don't want this to be a monologue, so I'm looking for you guys to chip in, but let me just say...
it's so interesting what you have to say. Why should we interrupt you?
Okay, so...
There's no sense in doing that.
But before I did this and decided, hey, what are we going to try and accomplish here? I thought, well, let's see why would this have happened? Are there things that took place that you could point to that caused our generation, my generation, to blow it, okay? And that's what I wrote to my father. I said, one way or another, I'm going to make up for this. I'm so sorry that you handed me America on a silver platter, and I took the torch of liberty and shoved it in the dirt. just like that. And a lot of my generation did the same thing. I mean, for the audience's knowledge, I just turned 70 the other day, a couple months ago. So I began to look, and I identified a whole lot of stuff. I was originally going to call it Turning Point. In fact, it originally was going to be a book called Turning Point. Now there's an organization called Turning Point.
You can still do it.
I could.
You're still young enough
And
to do it.
I'm almost done with the book, actually.
After
that's
20
right.
years, you said?
Yeah, it's coming along really great.
wait.
It's only 18
Hey,
chapters.
come on, continue.
All right, so here we go. So the
very
first
interesting.
thing, here's the things I identified. The first thing is that after World War II, in the early 50s, and especially in the mid-50s, America went from an involved nation, an active nation, to a spectator nation because of television. That's probably true of other places too, but in America it was especially that
We
case.
had the Korean War, Tom.
And-
The Korean War.
I know, but in 1955, my generation, the boomer generation, instead of coming home and doing all the things that kids have been doing for about 5 million years, we sat in front of a boob tube and did nothing.
Well, let me say something to you about
please
that.
do.
Well, they also rioted.
And just for the record,
Whoa, we're not anywhere near rioting
Okay,
yet. This
but
is
not yet.
1950.
Okay, go ahead.
just for the record, I'm 73, so I got a couple of years on Tom, and I'm really the first year, 1946, of the baby boomer generation. My grandfather in the 1950s, and he was a carpenter and a contractor in his time. But anyway, in the 1950s, he said something that I'll never forget my whole life. He said, the automobile made the American people lazy and television made them crazy. And you know, he summed it up in one sentence.
I think
that's pretty
he's
good
right
stuff.
on that one.
Yeah.
So finish up with.
So my point is that we went from active participants and everything to spectating, and a result of that, this all ties together, is that we started living a sedentary lifestyle, and it's the reason I'm obese, you're overweight, we're all not living very healthy because we started this process back then that we never had before. Everybody was out busting their rear, in all over the world for that matter. So what's another example? Well, the interstate highway system is another thing that completely changed America. When you graduated from high school, if you got lucky and got to go to college, when you were done, what did you do? You came back home, you lived back in your same town, and you built your business or you went to work. Well,
Well, actually, I used a different model.
Okay.
When
let's use his
when
model.
I graduated from college, I went to work for Bell Telephone Laboratories, which was right close to home. But I lived in Northeast Jersey. There was a whole heck of a lot of industry there. But I went to work for Bell Telephone Laboratories. But the second they gave me the chance to go overseas to Kwajalein Missile Range, I disappeared, and I haven't lived in New Jersey since. You know what I'm saying?
Valid point. So that you just made my point. Starting in 1956 with the interstate highway system, when you moved home in 1955, it's tough to go someplace out of that area. Now you can get in your car and be in Los Angeles in 36 hours.
Could you go back to Up With America? I love
That's what this is.
All right, finish it up.
Okay. The next thing that took place, probably a huge turning point, was the credit card. Most people don't know this, but there were no credit cards until 1950, and there were no major credit cards until 1958.
That's right.
So what happens? So we went from a save up for what you need generation and society to a debt society. And the accumulation of debt is overwhelming us right now.
Well, we got to take a break, but I got a
do it.
point I want to make on that.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a moment.
Hey man, I'm on my way to the finest place for everyone to play, where the drinks are cool if the sun is hot, at the Merle's Inlet's Marsh Walk.
Enjoy spectacular waterfront dining and live music with breathtaking saltwater marsh views at the Merle's Inlet Marsh Walk. Marsh Walk, where the view, the music, and the fun are always free. Marsh Walk, Highway 17 Business, Waterfront, Merle's Inlet.
server at Brothers Grill, and as a server here, I like to make sure everybody has amazing service and good fresh food every single day. We serve lunch and dinner from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., our happy hours from 4 to 7, and we're located on 5900 North Kings Highway. Follow us on Facebook at Brothers Grill Myrtle Beach.
My name is Angelo Antonucci, and I'd like to welcome you to my restaurant. I've been in Myrtle Beach now for over 30 years, and we are the home of the greatest steaks in the universe. Here at Angelo's, we have a fantastic Italian buffet with your favorite pastas served with meatballs and sausage and delicious gourmet pizzas. But where we really shine is our entrees like our Scampi Traditional, Alfredo or Lemon Romano served over linguine, our French pork chops with garlic mashed potatoes, and our twin fillets featuring our signature Marsala sauce. It's a great place to enjoy with family and friends, so stop by and see us at our new location at the corner of 24th Avenue South and South Kings Highway. Don't just take my word for it. Come in and try Angelo's, home of the greatest steaks in the universe.
Here at Angelo's.
Well, welcome back. We're here talking with Tom Heron. We're talking about upwithamerica.org and
Got a question to ask.
what's
you.
happened to the country since the end of World War II. And you mentioned credit cards and credit card debt, and that's valid. I mean, credit card debt is insane in this country, and 25% interest on credit cards is insane too.
Yes, it is.
So, but I just wanted to make a quick point about, I thought that the debt of the middle class started basically with the GI Bill and the mortgages that it guaranteed after World War II because of the housing shortage we had. That was the first time when the middle class stopped pay-as-you-go and started, and it was right. It needed to happen because otherwise it would have been the 1980s before we housed all the vets that got married after the war, you know? But anyway, to move into your thing.
I'm not sure it needed to happen, but I knew it was going to happen, and we all know that this was an example of how America likes to reward the behavior of its citizens. And so we had a lot of guys, and women for that matter, who went overseas and risked their lives, and so this was a reward program for them, okay?
It was.
But
The
the
GI Bill was
result of the
definitely a
reward
reward.
program of the GI Bill and credit cards on top of that is that back then, nobody had any personal debt. Nobody did.
That's right.
Ever in the history of the world, okay? So when you went to buy something, you paid for it, and that's it. You're done buying for it. Now, everything you own, you've probably got a bill for, waiting for you at some bank or some credit card, or a mortgage or whatever. So the GI Bill was a nice thing, a nice gesture, but it has begun a process that we're now dealing with, in my opinion.
Well, and the problem is not so
went
much.
from savings to spending on
Correct.
credit cards
Well,
and
the
debits
problem
and
is not so much that as it is the inability of the Americans to control debt. Their own
Well, how can
and
you,
national.
you can't control that.
If you're allowed to borrow money
Then
at
you will-
any amount, then a lot of people are going to do it and be stupid about it, just like a lot of other things that we do stupidly.
Well, and what I'm saying is, they if you go without any amount, like the first credit cards, what did they come out with, $300 limits, which was big in those days
Yeah.
because you know the minimum wage was $1
Right.
an hour. So I mean,
Right.
you know,
Are
but
we going to the
Yeah,
formula
sure.
that you have for
We're,
with America?
we're still going. You ready? So what we're saying is that we went from earning things
And
from
saving.
saving up so they can buy that car so that when you get in it, you own it, to going to the car dealership with not a cent on you, and the guy goes, "Don't worry about it, son. Here's the keys to the car. Pay me in the next 20 years when the car is already falling apart. And when the country is already falling apart." And that's kind of where we are. Next thing.
So we went to
to
credit
me,
then.
huge thing. By the way, I think that the GI Bill itself also precipitated another activity, which is sort of the envy of the neighbors, okay? It's like keeping up with the Joneses. They got a house, they got a garage, they got this. Hey, honey, look, they've got this, they've got this. All of a sudden, we are in this race to have at least as much or more than the next guy.
Yeah.
So now we're in this new whole mode. This is the boomers that are doing this, not the other generation,
Yep.
okay? So then what happens? 1960. What was the thing that happened in 1960? The pill. To me, the pill may be the single most huge change in American behavior of all time.
that's fair.
Because instead of understanding that when you're in the back seat of your DeSoto or wherever you are, you've got to be careful everybody went, hey, we don't need to be careful at all because guess what? We got the pill. And the result of that is a proliferation of sexual activity that's never been seen in the history of the world before because nobody had to worry about it. So that's a gigantic change, a shift, okay? The next thing I think that affected my generation is the assassinations. You start with JFK, and then 5 years later, you have RFK and you have Martin Luther King. None of us were prepared for that.
That's true.
It was a shock.
That is very true.
I mean, it's like it happened yesterday to me and probably to you guys too.
Yep.
Okay, what else happened? Well, right in the middle of the assassination binge, we launched a war that was one of the craziest wars in the history of the earth, the Vietnam War, in which you guys were prohibited from winning it. It was crazy.
That is true. That is true.
Okay, we could have won that war by 1967.
In fact, you could argue militarily we did win it. Even the Tet Offensive was one of the greatest killing times for the American forces. I mean, yeah, they launched an offensive, but we killed off. But nevertheless, they won the psychological war.
Yeah.
That's when things turned.
We're
with the
still
Tet.
paying the price for the Vietnam War.
We
I've
are.
lost 3 friends, well, 2 friends and a brother-in-law to Agent Orange just in the last 3 years. So we're still paying. So that's an extended period of time, the Vietnam War, and the coverage of it. Okay, and then to me, the next couple of things are huge. The main thing is Roe v. Wade, and I mean Kent State. Kent State University was 1970, and when I saw, as a about to graduate from college guy, 18-year-old students shooting 18-year-old National Guard guys shooting 18-year-old students, I went, you know what? I'm not playing this game anymore. Let's go make some money. And I walked away from my activism, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to start a company, make some money, and that's what we did. So the whole generation was moving in that direction anyway, and now all this stuff happens, and you're watching it on TV, and it's like, you know what? I don't want to participate. 2 more things that I think are critical. You want to hold for a second, or do you want to go with it?
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead,
we're
finish,
fine.
finish, we're
Number 1, Roe v. Wade, 1973. And the next 2 things I'm going to talk about, I think, are intertwined completely. You know, the Declaration of Independence talks about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The number 1 first thing that it says is life.
Life.
Okay? We decided in 1973, in my opinion, to endorse a right that's greater than life. The so-called right of a woman to terminate her pregnancy. I don't want to get into the argument about whether that's a decision that should be made that way or not, but it changed America. Because once Roe v. Wade passed, 2 years later, what happened? 2 years later, we got rid of the draft. And so at the same point in time in American history, we're killing millions of babies, 62 million since then.
We still are.
And we have decided that we're going to have other people's kids fight our wars. That, to me, is a combination. That's the Holocaust of America right there. You can't send unprepared people who need a job or need $10 an hour to go fight our wars and leave the kids that are smart back driving their dad's Mercedes-Benz. Everybody needs to participate in this process. So I think, and one of the things that you should know about Up With America, if you go on our About section, is that we have a bunch of board members, including a guy named Colonel Ken Allard, who's an expert at this stuff. So you can find a lot of good information on there about that. So,
Okay, on that
Well, if they
note,
want to
we
find
got
out
to take
more
another break.
information, wait a second, time out. If you want to find out more information about Up With America, you're going to give them the telephone number, right? Give them the
no,
telephone number.
I don't have a telephone number.
Well, how are they going to get it?
They go to
On the
upwithamerica.org.
On the internet?
Of course, upwithamerica.org, or you go to Facebook/UpWithAmerica.
Okay, and on that note, we'll be back in a minute.
My name is Angelo Antonucci, and I'd like to welcome you to my restaurant. I've been in Myrtle Beach now for over 30 years, and we are the home of the greatest steaks in the universe. Here at Angelo's, we have a fantastic Italian buffet with your favorite pastas served with meatballs and sausage and delicious gourmet pizzas. But where we really shine is our entrees like our scampi traditional, Alfredo or lemon romano served over linguine, our French pork chops with garlic mashed potatoes, and our twin fillets featuring our signature marsala sauce. It's a great place to enjoy with family and friends, so stop by and see us at our new location at the corner of 24th Avenue South and South Kings Highway. Don't just take my word for it. Come in and try Angelo's, home of the greatest steaks in the universe.
Here at Angelo's.
Welcome back. We're here with our third segment here on the Up With America with Tom Herron. And you know, it's quite interesting because you're talking about my lifetime and your lifetime.
Yeah.
And mostly John's
That way,
lifetime,
you
although
don't
he's a
even
little bit
consider
older
me.
than
Go
us.
ahead, continue on, go on.
You know, as you look back on the many changes that have happened in this country, most of which are not for the good. But to continue with what we were at the end of World War II to what we are now. But I want to add one other thing. You talk about debt. I'm going to bring it to the national level. It took us 201 years, 190 years under our Constitution to go from the beginning of the country to $1 trillion national deficit. That was in 1980 is when we first went over $1 trillion in debt.
Yep.
And we have now accelerated that in the last 39 years, or let's call it 40, to 25 or
So do you think that's
26.
sustainable?
No, it's not sustainable.
Okay, so a lot of people, now we're sort of shifting gears, and I'm only going to do it momentarily. It is not sustainable, and although some people do not like former Governor Mark Sanford and think it was stupid that he ran for office, his entire purpose of running was because he is scared shitless.
That's okay, go ahead.
He is scared to
continue.
death of the fact that we have a mountain of debt and nobody is addressing it at all.
That's
nobody.
right.
Neither party.
He's no, you're exactly right. We have
Yeah,
535
okay,
senators and representatives
Let's
that
go
have
back- let's go
given
back
up
to-
on that.
oh my God.
Just given up
You see
on
what I
it.
have to
We're
do?
running $1
What
trillion
am I sitting
a
here for?
year now.
He
in
is
debt.
filibusters.
So
You know, we have
let
gaps.
me give you,
Oh my
let me
God.
give you, John. Let me give
I'm
you.
gonna sit here and
you're
keep
gonna-
quiet now.
You're going to
Okay.
have to bring me back in order to.
Well, I'm just going to say there's so many gaps that he misses that we should be addressing.
Okay.
We're talking about the college kids and the college kids against the Vietnam War. We building up these community activists are against America. You see anything that's positive? So that's what you're trying to do.
Okay,
You're
so-
uplifting the people to say love America and don't go by the activists, community activists like Obama. Go ahead, go.
Okay, so what I did at the beginning of
I guess
today's
that made
show
sense. I'm not sure.
was to explain to everybody
It
what
did make sense to a
created
lot of people
Up
out there
with America.
listening. Maybe
What
not
are
to
the
you.
things that changed America that put us where we are today? Because I figured if we don't know how we got here, I'm not going to figure out how to fix it.
and that's exactly right.
But that's
So,
such
so,
poison.
so then we
There's poison
created.
out there.
So then we created what we call Smart Solutions for America. 3 different categories of smart solutions for society. Smart solutions for our government, smart solutions for our economy, and smart solutions for our society. And tried to put various different categories in there together. Quite frankly, every presentation I give, most people want to focus at the beginning on society, and I think they're right. And that's because if our society isn't fixed, our government is nothing more than a reflection of our society. It's not the other way around. We don't behave like the government does, the government behaves like we do. And if you don't like our government, that's the reason, because we're not behaving. So here are just a couple of examples of the stuff that is included in our smart solutions. We believe in term limits. We think that there's no other way to stop this overwhelming amount of money that's invading and affecting every single level of government. And so we're promoting term limits from the local city council level all the way to the president, which we already have that.
Well, and if I can interject, that
Sure.
was the anticipation of the founding fathers.
Right.
That you would have citizen legislators who
Correct.
would go to Congress for a couple of terms maybe, and then come back home and go back on the farm.
Absolutely. And Paul, I know
times
for a
have
fact,
changed.
because he and I are friends, if you ever read the Federalist Papers, that's what they were talking about.
Yeah.
They knew that this would happen. Okay, another example. We think that one of the problems we've got is you've got 535 members of Congress or the Senate that are up there. They go from their little hometown like Myrtle Beach, and then they go to Washington, and the cost of living up there is exorbitant. It is exorbitant. And so they go up there, well, they have to have another household, so they have two households. Well, their salary is $175,000. That may sound like a lot to a lot of us, but it's not. So what happens? Now you all of a sudden got lobbyists making sure everybody's taken care of. Our proposal is every state buys permanent housing for all its members of Congress. When you get elected, you move into your apartment in Washington, and when your term is up, which it should be term limited, you move out and the next guy moves in. It would be immensely cheaper than the system we now use.
Yes, yes.
Next huge problem as we see it is media bias. Right now, if you go back to the history of this country, and I know you guys both know this, Jefferson and everybody else was frightened to death that we're not going to, everything must be based on information, correct information. In Myrtle Beach, one of the biggest problems we have is that almost everything is not based on accurate information. It's based on BS. And so when you have that situation, you can't make good decisions. So right now, America is adrift because everything you see on the news is marginal at best.
At best.
And it doesn't matter which side you're on, it's all, and why that is real simple, because in 1985, Ronald Reagan deregulated media, and we went from, at that time, 6,500 people who own media to 6. That's it. We have 6 companies.
And a lot of those were little family companies, and they might have had a couple of radio stations.
Thank you. That's
Greg
exactly
Everett, actually.
Exactly
couple of
right.
that.
Same right here in Myrtle Beach.
Yep.
Now we got corporations that own all this stuff.
That's right. Now we got Sinclair Broadcasting for WPD.
So we've got
and
lots
there
of
you go.
other examples of stuff that we can do. But if we don't get those things fixed, how do you expect somebody to vote
We only have 1
on
minute.
issues?
So
You know?
can you make
If
it
they
on
don't even
people.
know what the
If
issues
they don't
are.
even know what the
Can you
issues are.
recapitulate in 1 minute?
Yeah, absolutely.
only 1
And
minute.
unfortunately, what we've done is
Paul, we
we've
had 1
voted
minute.
personalities from now on.
Paul, 1 minute for him.
So, if you want me to come back, we'll talk about a lot
Yeah,
of
I think you
Come back
should.
with
But in the
finish.
meantime,
We can
here's
do-
the bottom line.
Go ahead.
We need to inform and inspire and celebrate this amazing country of ours. It has done more good for more people in the last 100 years or so than any country has ever thought about doing. But we're losing our way. And we need to get a grip on this, and we need to do it right now. So that's what this is all about. We have upcoming next year right here in Myrtle Beach, we have a couple of Founders Day dinners. We have all sorts of really cool stuff that celebrates it. In fact, I can announce today, I finally put together a group of singers that you're going to just love, that sings American tribute songs, patriotic songs, and they will be doing that at our events and functions. So I'm all jacked up. I think we're going to make a difference. I hope we can, and that's what we're here for.
Well, thank you, Tom. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, man.
And
John,
we
thank
hope
you.
that this was just the beginning of what will be a frequent conversation we'll have with Tom as we go
with
forward.
America.
Because it's necessary. We'll be back next
Up
week.
with America.
The idea that our rights come from our Creator, not from any man or any government. The right to life, the right to liberty, the right to the pursuit of happiness. And that with these rights and in this place, God has given hope a name: America.
I can